Hello YouTube. Today we're going to be having a look at Cypher setups on Ascent. My name is Ramon. I'm your host. I am Immortal 3 and I've tested these setups against Radiants and basically every rank if you can actually handle the Radiants. So let's jump straight into it. So coming up towards A site, we're going to have a look at first all the tripwires. So jumping in, I would say of course you have a couple of main tripwires that you can always use to make sure that no one is pushing in, and those are the default trips. I hardly ever use these because people know that they're there and people destroy them quite instantly. So I always try to use creative trips. This one right around the corner on the boxes like this to make sure no one is pushing in. On this corner right under here, you can use them all along this ledge to make sure anyone then that's actually dashing straight in towards site gets picked off. You can use them around Jenny. You can use them on this little bottom corner here. This is actually a really neat one that you can use against Jet dashing in. You can even use tripwires to counter Jet. If you have a Jet that actually dashes on top of this box, on top of Jenny, make sure you use this tripwire. It actually does catch him off guard. Make sure you combine that with a cage and then catch him off guard as well. You can use a tripwire along this entire ledge. You can use tripwires to cross this area. So if you do that, you'll basically have like the entire cross here. Keep in mind, if you have boom bots or anything like that, they will destroy these trips. So always try and place them a little higher. If you're up against a raise that actually does boom bot out, you can use your trip a little higher on this ledge as well. And this part right here will show, like, make sure that no one is actually able to run into it. So you have the higher tripwires on this side, same as this side. You can use tripwires along this entire ledge, and I would recommend using them. These tripwires are incredibly strong because you always have that one or two enemies that actually push out. For example, this is smoked or caged or whatever you want to. They smoke out onto the side. Triggered. No one is able to see heaven. You always have that teammate going towards door, and you've got the teammates going towards the right side to make sure that they hold heaven. So they will always get caught in this trip. This is probably the most unexpected but most powerful tripwire. Those are basically like the default tripwires on site. You can combine them everywhere. You can use them also on the door. I would not recommend this because the angle that you're actually walking towards this tripwire is so sharp that you can actually hear the tripwire way before you're actually about to hit it. So I would not really use this. I would say use tripwires like this. If they do close the door, they tend to run on towards site, and then they will get caught in this tripwire. So try and actually avoid using this one because people are able to hear it way before. Okay. Anyway, let's hop in towards cage locations. We have the two one-ways and the one-way on the door. First, we're going to use our UI for the first one-way. On the left side of the entrance, we're going to use the middle one. On the second, on the right side of the entrance, we're going to use the left one. On the door, we're going to use the right one. So there's 3 lines in the UI. We're going to use all 3 of them for these one-ways. First, for the left side, line up the UI on the black dot right there. Make sure it's off-centered a little to the right. And you can throw that one. You can use your line. Make sure it's in the left square and then the bottom right. And then on the left side, throw that one. It's going to be a one-way. And you can actually use the orange dots that are in the door right there on the right one. Make sure it's on the left side, off that dot. Throw your cage and you'll have a one-way as well. You can use these one-ways from triple, Jenny, or on the wood box here.
Cage triggered.
So as you see, one-way. Cage triggered. We can walk along the other side. Also, one-way covers the entirety of main as well. And if you have that one-way up on the left side, you can actually be safe. Cage triggered. And one-way this, and you can look all the way in towards cat. So these are the one-ways that I have for you. And let's actually talk about normal smoke setups. So what I love to do in normal smokes, I basically try and have one cage. I like to be creative, so I only use one cage before I know that anyone is actually pushing my site. So I play it a little offensively. Cage triggered. I have my tripwire set up, so I get 1, maybe 2 kills from the trip. If I'm not spammed by then, I use another one to go through. So I basically use my second one as a free entrance towards more space. And in that time, my team is rotated over and is actually able to get pigs as well. And then I'm basically behind them. That's kind of the way that I like to play it. But, of course, there's better one-ways. Or not one-ways in this case, cages. So what you can do is this is one seen on Nats. I've actually used it myself a lot as well. I have not known that it was on Nats, but I'm definitely going to cover it because they are completely overpowered. So what you can do when you play behind this box, you can be inside of this cage. And you can open this one, and as you see, they overlap. You can walk through it, and you can even flank anyone that pushed Jen to then have the biggest brain play. So you can use cages on top of these boxes. You can use them in front of these boxes so that you can see that no one is able to walk in except for Jen without you knowing it. Otherwise, you hear on the queue from the cage that anyone is actually pushing. You can use them a little more aggressive here as well. So that the moment you see anyone peeking, you can play it like this. Wait for someone to walk in, shoot him, go into your cage. So that you actually get a free kill and you're able to really safely retreat while going in towards that cage and let them guess where you are. So those are basically the cages. I would just want to give you one little tip. Be creative. You can also, if you really want to, that was a dumbass cage, but that's fine. We're just going to ignore that. We're going to jump up on top of this box. If you want to play it a little different than normal Cyphers, you can actually hide behind here. Use the double cage. And what you can see is the entirety of sight is completely blocked. And if anyone runs into a trip, they're yours. Only watch out for Jenny. You could be peeked from there. So if you want to play this, make sure that if you have the cages up, that you're actually not peeking them right here. So you hold it, crouched, and then you peek these angles. If someone peeks on the left side, you have to be faster. If someone peeks on the right side, they cannot see you. So that should be completely fine. So those are the cages. Let's move into the cameras. There's a couple that I really like and hardly ever really see used. If you jump on top of this box on Jen, you can actually jump and then place a camera on the back line right there. You can look into main. You can see. Of course, you can place it a little further to the right, so that's easier for you to see. But on this corner, no one is able to actually get into sight without being seen. I cannot see the camera at all, or maybe the tiniest little part of it. But if I try and push towards sight, you can always see my feet. So that's kind of the little trick that I want to use with this camera. I think it's extremely strong, so I would suggest using that. And one little extra on this camera, actually, let me place it again, is if you place it right, the fact that you can not only see anyone pushing, but you can also, if you're, for example, playing under, you want to play safe, it's a 1v2 situation, you don't know where they're going to be coming from, you can look into heaven. Would you look at that? You've got all the info if anyone is going to be pushing you. Of course, what you cannot see is the short angle, but that is something you could easily trip off or anything like that. If you use it too far to the right, you won't be able to see much. You can, of course, see people jumping in, because if they're standing here and they have to jump up, you will be able to see their heads, but it's such a small fraction that missing this, the moment you look here, could be too easy. So I would not suggest it using this far to the right. So that's basically my little camera that I use a lot as well. You've got the camera right here on the ledge. Why would you use this? Because no one is able to shoot it the moment they push sight. What's going to happen is people need to focus on triple or Jenny or short or heaven, but they're not going to look all the way up to get a camera. So they're never going to really shoot it, and you could use it either as a retake or just an info cam. But if you're playing on sight, you can even tell your teammate that is normally playing on short to rotate off, because if someone shifts pushes short, you will be able to see their feet. They won't be able to see that camera until they really push all the way to this angle. Then they will be able to see it, but they won't ever do it because they think they're sneaky. They think there's nothing here. I have had a lot of kills, or at least teammates have had a lot of kills, because I know that someone has pushed this angle and I give them all the intel that is needed to get the kill. If they know that there's one pushing up here, they're just going to hold the angle and they are able to get the kill. So that is a camera that I really like to use. You can use them on this ledge. Doesn't matter how high it is. It's going to be shot by anyone in a main if they see it. Do not use this too much because they instantly shoot your camera. I always say your camera is a knowledge that you have to pass on to teammates, so you can give out all the information to your teammates as well. Try not to get the camera destroyed too much. You can also place it a little bit above the entrance. I don't suggest using this. They will shoot it instantly as well. So I would really stick it towards the camera here, towards the camera up there, or place it somewhere a little more passive as well, so that you can actually see someone walking out. For example, if you have a double one-way setup, you can have the camera set up like this. Wait for them to walk out. The moment someone is standing right here, you open up both cages and then you kill them. So that's basically it. Let's pop into setups that I actually use to destroy people on site. Okay, a little setup that I like to use to actually destroy people is, of course, the double cage setup. One on each box so that we can actually cross in between the two, and we combine that with different tripwires every single time. I like to use one trip on the left side and one trip on the right side just to make sure that no one is really peeking it hard. I like this angle because this is basically the direction they move in. You kind of want to always have like a straight angle into their direction. So if they're moving this way, I want to have a tripwire, both sides, straight angle. If I have one that is this like slanted, they will see it way before and they will shoot it. So always try and get it in the angle that you normally expect people to run in, and there you get free kills. So you have these two cages. I most of the time combine it with the camera that is on top of this ledge, and I try to mostly play it behind this box. This box is not wall bangable, so you can safely sit here. Keep in mind, if you have a raise against you, if you have a Sova against you, they will try to nade you out, shock dart you out, or anything like that. If that is happening a lot, fall back into under. You will not be scanned by the Sova arrow. You will basically be immune to nades unless they, of course, throw it under there. But that hardly ever happens. And the moment you see that they're pushing, you can still open the cage and then walk into it. And then the moment this one is off, the second one, push into that, wait for someone to push Gen, because most of the time they do, and you can be right behind them, surprise them, get those kills as well. So that's setup number one. Instantly jumping in towards the second. I basically want to use the camera on this position on every setup so that you actually know. I do swap it around with the camera on top of this little rails, so do that for yourself as well. See if the enemies know where the camera is, and then swap it out. Basically, tripwires, they're basically the same all the time. So tripwire here, tripwire on this little ledge, tripwire on Jenny on the corner. Swap these out. Never use the same ones every single round, okay? It needs to be clear. Just never use the same ones every single round. Swap them around, do some weird stuff. If it works, don't change it too often, okay? If you see that a certain tripwire is really catching them off guard and you smoke them off, instantly kill them, you can use it again, but don't do it every single time. So I kind of like, as I've shown before as well, have one cage on the left side here, one cage on the right side, and then
cage trigger.
Play it like this. The moment they push in, double cage it. You can even walk all the way out to the left side, get the kill, then drop and hold it. So that is one of the setups. What I like to do as well, for example, if you have a KO against you, if a KO knifes in the middle of sight, what you can then do is play your setup from here, from this cubby. If you know that there's people coming up towards you, if you know that they knife it a lot, if they knife the double boxes, you're able to shoot it. If they knife backside and you're able to hide from it, even better. What you're going to do is combine it with a cage here. If you have a cage right here and you have tripwires along this ledge, maybe once again the one here on top of or next to the box, what you can do, open the cage, walk into it, wait for people to walk into your tripwires, kill them, throw another one, and try and actually flank it in towards main. If no one is in main, you can wait for your team and retake it together. It's important to stay alive sometimes as well. You don't always have to go in, try your hardest to defend it. If you can get 1-2 kills and get away, perfect. That is a good hold. Do not expect from yourself to hold like 4 or 5 enemies at once. It's near to impossible to actually do that. Try and play with your team. Another one that I like to do is a wallbang setup from heaven. It's a little default. A lot of people has seen it. A lot of people have done it. But it is something that actually normally works as well. No idea why. What you can do is just have a tripwire all the way at the back ledge. Have one around there. And you should be able to just sit here, wait until they run into the trip, and then wallbang it. What you can do, if you know that it's actually going to be A before you're actually in position to wallbang it, you can throw a cage on top of this box, throw a cage here, and what you then do is the moment you see that they're in, you get your 1 kill, you get your second trip kill. If, of course, you get the kills, if they're not fast enough in destroying it. You can then open the cage. Wait a second. Open this cage. Jump. And then be on top of this box. Of course, I missed it on the YouTube video, but that's fine. Just your imagination should be fine. So I definitely made that jump. And you can actually play it as a little surprise from the top of this box, or drop behind it the moment they are not expecting it. So those are the plays that I do for A-side. Let's hop into short. All right, coming up towards a short, I just want to show everything in a rapid fashion. There's not a lot going on short, so what we can do on Tripwires are basically the easy ones, the default ones, the ones that are not crossable, and you can pull them all along this way, and you can even use one around this corner. Why would you ever use this? Because the moment you know that there's a Cypher playing this angle, you know that you're going to be careful. But if you have no tripwires here, and you out of nowhere open a cage in this direction, or you open a cage a little closer to this ledge, what's going to happen is they're going to back off. So that's a little bit of a mind game. If you see a cage of the enemy Cypher, they're going to either try and get the ground until they know, but would you look at that? I've actually hit the tripwire already. They always try and play it slower, and they fall back a little bit because they're afraid of running into a tripwire. So the big mental play that you can do is open a cage to bait them off. When do you open the cage, you might ask? Use the camera. The camera. This is probably the best camera to hold the entirety of a short. If you look to the right, you can see them through the leaves, but they also clearly ping it on the map because your camera is visible through the leaves. So your camera does not see these leaves. It will just ping exactly where someone is on the map, and you will know that they're walking there, even though you cannot maybe even see them. So use this camera. I would not recommend any other camera for short. You might be able to use one along this ledge to make sure that you have like a walkout of A as well, if you want to hold both A and short from the same camera. But I would not suggest it because people always go into this corner as well to make sure this is fine, and then they see the cam. So don't really use that. Use the camera that is hidden up there. And I do think it's way stronger. For cages, I don't really use any other cages on this. You could, in theory, do a one-way cage if you really want to on top of this lamp, or you might be able to land a cage on top of this. I probably think it is worth it to try it. And there's probably a lineup for it as well, but it will be a rough one to do, and I don't think the cost of the cage is worth it. Triggered. Because the angle is basically always the same. So they have to already be in the entrance for them to not see you if you're playing on top of this ledge. But it is not really worth it. Just use a tripwire. If you really want to, you can actually play it safe. And you can let people jump over. You play this angle right here. And what you do is you basically wait for someone to jump over. The moment they're in the air, they will never be able to shoot straight. Okay, so their only chance is to just hope, while you are waiting right here, waiting for someone to jump over. They cannot cross this without jumping, so they have to. And if they cross it, there'll be a free kill for you. And if someone tries to re-peek it, they will be caught in the tripwire, and you might be able to combine that and then re-peek it again while they're caught in the tripwire to then kill them through the smoke. So that's it for A short. Coming up towards middle, you can actually see that it's a really tough thing to hold for Cyphers. But on the other hand, it is basically the playground of Cyphers because people don't expect the Cypher to play it. Because people never play this. What you can do is you can place that tripwire here. The buy barrier is right here. So you can place the trip at start, and you can place the trip right here. What I like to do is this is still something I really have to test out on stream, but in my mind, this is working perfectly. You've got the camera right around this ledge. They will not be able to see it from middle. You can always see anyone walking out. Of course, you have two tripwires. You can wallbang them if you really want to. Do not use that too much because they will wallbang you back. Every gun is able to wallbang this, so make sure you just get the one kill and get the hell out. Literally just get the kill, swap T9, run away, because they will instantly trade wallbang you. The moment you see that the first tripwire is done and you hear them still pushing up, What you can do is you can open this cage. You can walk into it, wait for the second.
Cage
if it didn't
trigger.
go off, you can use the cage again, the second cage, and you'll be a surprise because you're going to be peeking right behind them. This is basically what I like to do. I like to get ground with my cages because a fight in my cage is always the advantage that I have because I'm expecting someone to be in my cage. So if I have two cages set up like this and I have the first angle, I open up the second, I instantly walk into it. I know that I'm expecting someone in here. If there's no one here, I can then walk out. And once done, you get either 2, 3 kills and you've done your job. If you didn't get kills with your tripwires yet, of course, but this is the mid hold that I like to use. Camera that I like to use as well could be on top of this ledge. Why? Because you're able to see the entirety of middle. You can see anyone pushing up short. You can see anyone on cat, top mid, or middle, or from link into mid. So this is a good cam, but keep in mind they will shoot it instantly the moment they see it. So that's basically it for middle. I don't really play this too often. There are a couple of tripwires that you could do. For example, the one that I showed here, but it's not really that great. Just make sure your trips are not jumpable in this area and then you're fine. Don't try and really do outplay trips because people don't really rush this too hard. Sometimes they do, but it's not really worth the effort. If you need to play mid, this is probably your resort, and that should be enough to actually hold it. All right, starting off a B site, we're actually going to look at the tripwire positions first. I'm going to throw them out rapid succession. All of these are pretty basic, except for this one. Make sure it's all the way to the left as far as you can go, and then the moment you hit the first pixel, you place it. It will cross all the way to boat, so if they go this way, or if they go this way, they will be caught into it. You can use tripwires in this little corner, wallbang setup. You can use them on top of here. I believe you can even use them a little further to the left on top of it. And yeah, well, you saw there for a split second. It's always a little tough to get these. There you go. You can even use this tripwire on this side as well, as I will show you in a second. It has to be a little lower, but it is still basically the same trip. You can use them all along the ledge of the boat. You can use them all along the front ledge right here. I always use these against jets to dash in. You can use them on this point so that if they run down the stairs, they still get caught in the tripwire. You can also place them a little higher. For example, if you have a race at boombots, place them higher because a boombot will go underneath it. If you have a skydog, of course, try and shoot the skydog before, because otherwise your tripwires is gone. Okay, it's just going to be gone. These are the tripwires. One that I like to do against a market push. So if they really rush market, they have to like awkwardly jump out, and they will hardly ever do it. They just run in like idiots because they have to clear this corner. So those are the tripwires. You can also place them a little further down, but I do not really recommend it as it's not really too strong. Tripwires that I like to use along the ledge right here. You've got the entirety of lane. All this is all tripwireable. Use them. Just be creative. Use a tripwire down here because there's always this one guy that always goes up towards this corner. If you then play it from backside, you can use a cage to walk out and kill him. You can of course use the entire wallbang setup along this entire ledge and the entire lane. You can literally stuff it with tripwires. Don't do it. Don't do it too much. Place them a little further back. Try and outplay people. You can use them on site. You can use them in this corner. You can use them right here. You can use them on the other entrance as well. On both sides, actually, if you really want to. I would not suggest this one because otherwise they will just run in and try and flank you. So always use this one because there's no possibility of them getting into it before they flank you. So those are basically the ones on site, and you can use one right here as well. All right, coming in towards the B site cages, you can once again use a one-way if you aim on the bottom right there. I'm going to show you with the operator. If you zoom in, it's basically the bottom of this ledge, and then in the middle, the left side of this house. So the middle, and just throw your cage. Once done, you actually land it right at this corner. You can play that from backside. You can play it from stairs, and it should be an easy shot for you. But I do not, once again, I do not use one-ways too often. Another little one-way that I know, if you stand all the way against this corner, you have your UI, once again, that middle one, and just place it on the second to highest, or at least the highest line that is right there. So you stand up against the wall, place that line, basically where the bullets are right now, and you throw your cage. It's going to land on top of this lamp. What's going to happen if people really push?
Cage triggered.
You can open this and you can actually look inside of it. They can, of course, see you as well. So keep it in mind. It's not that hard of a one-way, but it's still counting as a one-way. You can also use one on top of market, but that requires you to play in boathouse on the switch, and that is going to be incredibly dangerous. I would not recommend it. So those are the cages, at least for one ways. You can use 2 cages to get in towards me. If you want to flank around them, you can walk all the way through them. If they push out towards site, you can then walk around, kill Sova, that is maybe droning, and then push back from B main. If they're on site, you have a retake situation. You're still alive. You're 1 kill up. If you have your tripwires down as well, you can get a kill from them. So use that if you want to go aggressive. Do not recommend it too much as well. I like a cage in this position. If I get a kill with a tripwire here, I can actually use this cage to then outplay people to get behind them if they close down the switch, or if they're on logs, or if they're on market. Cages that you can do as well, you can also use a cage somewhere on top of this roof. You can throw them quite easily as well. There's a one-way lineup, probably quite easy, as you can see right there.
Cage triggered.
You can see them walking down the stairs, but I do not recommend it because this is a split second. They can even jump out of it.
Cage
if they jump out of it, they'll still be faster and they can see you again. So I would not recommend doing that as well. I just like to play double cage here and get kills if needed. And I mostly play it from backside. And then I have a tripwire here. Wall bang it, wall bang it. I basically play B-side as a wallbang haven because it really is. It really is a wallbang haven. You can even use a cage in the window. I always just randomly throw them. I don't know why. I don't have a lineup for this because I don't really use it too much.
Cage triggered.
But you could use that as a one-way if you play all the way back here. But most of the time, I do not do this because they can walk out quite easily and still shoot you. If you only see the feet, it's quite hard to really locate the head and then kill them. So we have shown the tripwires. We have shown the cages. Now let's pop off on the cameras. All right, coming up towards cameras on B site, we will use one of the most overpowered cameras in the entire game, and that is the camera right on top of this airco vent. What you can do is you can actually look down in towards B main using this camera, and you can see people getting ready towards an execute on B site. You can tell your team they can rotate already without the enemies knowing that you've already spotted them. So your team is basically going to stack B site as long as the enemies do not know about this camera. The moment they push out, do not ping them. Just close the cam. Close the cam. Don't let them know. And as long as they really want to push and they did not focus on there, they will actually not look there and they will not destroy it. And you can use it again next round. So that's one of the most powerful cameras that are out there right now. You can simply jump midair, just hold backwards so you hang still, and then you can actually throw it, place it, and you can look into B main. Of course, but Ramon, listen, there's a camera that looks into B main already. Yes, that's this one. You can use it. You can even use it a little further into the left, but this one is placeable before the buy round ends. Yes, you can see it. But look how easy I can see it. Do not use it. It's a waste of your camera. It's a waste of intel. People shoot it instantly. Your camera is gone and you will have to guess where enemies are. Use a camera that I've showed you, or use it on top of this box. Of course, this is the most default one. People know it. People shoot it. It is just known. So you can use the camera right here. You can also use the camera a little further to the left. If you place it there, I kind of like this because they hardly shoot it from main. And you can still have the entire map control on B side. Also, what you can do is use the camera. If you go all the way to the ledge here, you can place it on top of this sign. It's a little harder to place, but if you're lucky and they're not pushing the left side, but they're pushing the right side, you can see their heads. You can even ping them, but you can see their heads and you can see anyone setting up. The only problem is if you do not have a tripwire to counter anyone actually pushing you, then you can see no one actually walking out towards site. They can even silently jump this. So watch out for that and just make sure that you don't use this camera too often. But those are the cams that I kind of like to use. You can, of course, vary them a little bit, but these are the ones I really want to give to you because they are just stronger, and just use them. All right, let's go into setups. Coming in towards the B-side setup, we actually have my main setup, one that I always use on stream as well, and that is just cage right here, or tripwire right here, tripwire here, cage, and of course that camera right here that I showed earlier. I just wait here. I wait for people to push it. Once I go into my camera, I make sure that my crosshair is already on this position. Somewhere on this tree is where Sova shoots their dart. Okay, either here or behind you. But this is easier to swap to instead of looking at your camera, looking here, and then need to do this, or then need a full flash, like do a 180 to get it. You won't be on time. So if you have your crosshair here, you can be on time the moment you see an arrow fly out through this window. So play it here, wait for someone to dash in towards sight, wallbang that one, open this cage, get closer, wait for someone to actually get into this trick, kill that person, throw another one to buy yourself a little bit of time, and then play behind that cage, and then you can actually slowly, angle per angle, peek into it. So that is the main default setup that I use. I also vary the tripwires. I don't always place one here. I do most of the time. I can also just do a cage just to scare them off, because they don't really want to push a cage that hard. You can place, of course, tripwire here, tripwire back here, or on the button, or you can actually place a tripwire here. And why would you have one right here on market? If someone pushes market, your default pre-fire angle is going to be right here. So if someone actually joins into the entrance, you can wallbang their headshots. Like, these are the easiest kills. This entire wall is made of paper. So make sure you have your pre-aim right here. If someone pushes market, free kill for you, and then you can actually play the rest of sight. You can use that. You can also play it a little more passive. For example, there's a Killjoy ulti coming in, or there's a KO playing. If you're playing against a KO, you have to hide from the knife. So if you're playing on sight, it basically covers the entire sight. You're basically never in time to destroy that knife if you're looking at your camera. So what I then do, if I play against a KO, I once again use this trip because it's just powerful. I use a tripwire either along this ledge, or I use it behind the boat. It could be lower, could be on top of it. But the moment they smoke off CT, it's party time. You don't even have to use a cage most of the time. If you notice that they're executing without any smokes, throw your cage. The moment they execute, you can actually get free kills by having one here, throw another cage. You can use that to cover ground and then push that cage, and you'll actually have a little surprise to one by one peek those angles again and see if you can get them from there. So that is a setup that I like to give to you as well. And what you can do if you want to be a little bit of a Dasnerth fan, okay? I get called Dasnerth a lot lately because I have found a little bit of love for the judge. What I like to do is have one tripwire either here or on the right corner, wait for people to jump in, and one right here. The reason I have this one set up the way I have it is because no one is able to get behind me without me knowing. So I can just sit here, of course, camera open. I can sit here, wait for people to come in. The moment they rush towards sight, judge and wait. That's all. Judge and wait. The moment they actually plant, you can throw a cage. You can do this, pre-fire the corner, and fall back again. If they then push you, instant kills. If they then push your flank, you can have a tripwire there or a cage there already, and you can kill him, or just straight up kill him and peek him. So you can play backside with a judgy if you want. Maybe even a shorty. Really depends on what you like to play. And you can also play it for market. If they smoke market off a lot, you can use this tripwire once again. You can use it a little deeper. But what you can also do, if you play for market, you can use a tripwire right there. Because what's going to happen? Let me ping exactly where that is. Okay, let me go into market. Would you look at that? That is a wallbang. You can play it for market and wallbang people on sight. If you're going to give them sight, it is completely fine. As long as you're able to retake with your team. You wallbang the one that ran into your tripwire. You can even have one all the way back here as well. If they then run into that tripwire as well, as you can see, let's ping exactly where it is. Hey, look at that. Once again, it's a wallbang. You don't always have to play on sight to still hold sight. What you can do is you can communicate that with your team, make sure they're okay with it, and then you're playing wallbang setups, and those are incredibly strong as well. You can even buy an Odin to make it faster on the kill. But those are basically the setups that I have for B sides as well. So those are the entire defense areas covered. Let's go into towards attack and especially lurking. Coming up on attacker side, your job as Cypher is just to hold off flanks. So if you want to counter anyone from pushing A, you can use a tripwire right here, or you can use a tripwire right here. If you want to counter anyone from pushing your flank, you can use a trip right here, or you can actually use it a little slanted. And this is a little more of a surprise tripwire that will catch them a little faster as well. They don't really expect that one. You can use a trip right here because they're not able to jump on top of this box without being caught, and they're not able to jump over it. You can, in theory, use them in main, but I do not recommend it. So that's it for A. Let's go over to middle for a second. If you want to counter anyone from pushing mid, there's basically nothing you can do because the buy barriers are up. So if you join in with your team and you actually take short control, you can place a tripwire like this and make sure that no one is actually able to push your short, and you can hold it like this so that you basically stay lurking a little bit. I would not recommend it, as they can hear that tripwire, and if you shift up, they cannot hear you. So those are the tripwires for A and basically middle. If you want to counter anyone from actually pushing you, if you're going B, you can use 2 tripwires like this, or what I would recommend is using 1 tripwire if you're going B, and that is right in this corner. This of course saves you another tripwire, and then you can use that aggressively once you've pushed site. And that is something I like to do. If you push site, place a tripwire aggressively the moment you run into site. You gain control and you plant, and you play it after plant with the wall bang, which basically nets you another free kill. If you want to counter anyone from pushing B, what I recommend is wait for the buy barrier to drop. If you use a tripwire instantly right here, what's going to happen? You always have that one teammate that is playing right here on link. You have the one enemy that pushes B main, so they're going to shift up. They're going to realize, hey, there's a tripwire here, but I can hold this angle and I can wait for someone to peek this. And then your teammate dies and they're going to blame you. To prevent that, always wait for the buy barrier to drop, then place it a little deeper, or what you could do is place it like this. If they do not shoot this, you know that no one is actually holding this angle, and you might be able to play in this corner, wait for someone to peek it, or you can just run away and make sure that you always have main control by actually using this trip. Those are of course the tripwires that we have to counter anyone. So let's get into the funny part. Lurking. What do you do if your entire team is able to go towards A? First of all, before you start lurking, please, every Cypher, do this. Communicate with your team that you will execute a lurk. If you do not do that and you're somewhere else and they're on site, they're going to blame you. Make sure your team is fine with it. If they do not allow you to lurk, don't do it, because you will tilt your team. Okay? So, for example, your entire team accepts the fact that you're going to go and lurk and they're going to go A. Get your entire team to go A. So 4 people straight in towards site. If that's the case, you can wait here. You can wait on middle. You mostly hear the guy from Cubby rotate off towards tree, or what's going to happen is you're going to see him on the minimap because someone on site is having contact with him. The moment you see that person having contact with someone on site, you can activate lurk mode. So you're going to walk up all across middle, have this tripwire here. Have a tripwire here at all times. It is good to have because you will never be surprised by anyone link, so that you only have to focus on this area. So you wait up, you wait for your team to do their job. They're going to get the plan down. So you're going to walk up. You don't even have to walk in this area. If no one is peeking this and you're able to cross this, accept it. Accept this place. If you have your team playing after plan and they maybe close the door, or you know that the one is actually coming towards short, just wait. The moment you hear someone break in the door, peek it. You don't have to, like, that's the most important and most crucial part of playing Cypher good on lurks. Timing. Wait. Be patient. Do not peek everything at first sight. Do not try and rush in because your team rushed in. So you play it patiently, And if there's really no one here and you know that there's multiple in heaven, what you can do is try and actually walk all the way up. Just keep shifting. Jump at the top of these boxes. See if you can see anyone through the window. If that's not the case, shoot it. Usually get your kill. Run back. Why run back? 1 kill is enough. If you get 2 kills because they're really not looking at you, that's fine. But keep in mind, the sound cue that you make by shooting the window is already that split second that will actually get you killed if you try to go for a second kill. So, get 1 kill and get out. If you're able to do that and you're able to get with your team, if they open the door, if it's destroyed, or you destroy it, then you can actually play with your team on site again. So always try and get to your team after you've lurked again. Okay, but what if they're holding short aggressively? What is there is a chamber tripwire there? You can actually abuse middle. If you've done the same, your team is pushing towards site, and instead of going short, you can actually walk out middle. You can be patient. You can wait here for like 3 to 5 seconds. Just be patient. You don't hear anyone. Hey, their chamber is still alive. Guess where his tripwire is? Yes, it's right there in the corner. Cage it off. Keep walking up. Check every corner that they can be in. Make sure that no one is here. Make sure no one is actually on CT. Only if they're on heaven, you continue on pushing. You can even walk backwards. Make sure no one is actually rotating from B still. Get up in towards the flank and then get your kills. In this position, it is impossible to fall back. What you can do is get a kill, get another one, try and fall back, or maybe get a kill and then fall back. But keep in mind, you're always going to be in their flank. There's no time for you to rotate and get back to your team, because most of the time there is still one player on short or on tree that is going to try and refrag you. So you can actually play it, cage another angle, wait for them, and then repeat the same angle. And that is basically a little bit of the mind game, and that will come over time. Okay, I've been playing this game since the beta, and I have been playing Counter-Strike for years and years as well. So this is something that has actually become nature to me. But Ramon, what if they actually push towards B? If your team goes towards B,
retrieved the spike.
Communicate to your team that if you want to be lurking on B, you can either stay in B main. That is considered a lurk as well. If your entire team goes towards site and you stay in B main. Maybe if you can cross this area and make sure you have it like this. And you wait. You have one tripwire behind you. You wait and be patient. Wait for your team and just be patient. Get the plant down and just wait until they peek you. You get the first kill. You can then double cage it because you should still have both of your cages. You can either run into it, run towards your team, or you can fake doing that and just be here again. Surprise, surprise. You're going to get another kill by actually peeking someone. So that is basically for the B main. If you want to stay there, if you instead of actually like want to go with your team, but if you want to go middle, I would recommend not using a camera. A camera would indicate the fact that you are going to start a flank. So instead of using your camera, you're going to be patient. You're going to wait in this area. If you hear someone jump onto grass, keep in mind that is short into middle. And instead of trying to kill him instantly, let him walk. Let him walk. Try and get behind him. No one is here. No one push stay. Okay. You're able to walk out of middle. All corners are clear. You're going to continue walking. If you play against a chamber that is not killed, hey, there is going to be a chamber tripwire right here. So the moment you know that, what you can do, you can either wall bang it across this ledge and then actually have it cage off right here. And this will give you more room, but it is going to be louder. So what you can do as well is just get your cage, throw it in that corner, cage it off, and just try and keep on walking. If you don't see anyone in market, which probably you have seen someone in market because most of the time they do play it for market, you can go in towards CT. If they still need to rotate players off of A, jump on top of these boxes and wait for them. If there's one CT, you can kill them from here as well. If they're not there, you can wait. Just be patient. That's like the #1 tip that I have for you whenever you're lurking. Be patient, read the enemies, and do not try to be hungry for kills. If you're patient and you wait and you actually create room by just allowing the enemies to flow through, you can get kills for free. That's basically it on lurking. If you have any questions, don't forget to drop by my Twitch. And yeah, I'll see you there. All right, links down in the description. Peace out.